I'm Sean Fennessey.
I'm Amanda Dobbins.
And this is 25 for 25, a big picture special conversation show about the social network. You know, you really don't need a forensics team to get to the bottom of this. If you guys were the inventors of Facebook, you'd have invented Facebook.
Here we are.
We come to the end. We come to the end of this project.
We come to this place for magic.
Well, maybe not this specific place. We come to the movies for magic. And this is a magical movie that we're talking about today. The number one movie on our countdown. There was never really any doubt that this was going to be the number one movie, right?
It was not discussed. I think we'll be airing the selection special later this week that we recorded in March. And I don't recall any back and forth about whether this should move from the spot. It was slotted in at number one, and there it stayed. It has been a collective favorite of this podcast since we've been doing it. It's where we meet, where our tastes meet. And it is also an astonishing and like increasingly underappreciated film of our generation about the world that we live in and are going to continue living in. This episode of The Big Picture is presented by Amazon Prime. You know how in every great holiday movie, there's that last-minute scramble to make it all come together? From gifts to hosting essentials, Prime's fast shipping is always there for you during the holidays, especially when it's last minute and just can't wait. So if you need fast, free delivery that saves the day, it's on Prime. Head to amazon.com/prime to shop now.
So we've been saying that the final three films in the list are this trilogy about America and the America that we had and the America that we were and then the America that we are in and will continue to be in today.
Yeah.
And the movie in its construction and its intention wants to show you that. It's a character study of a guy who's a ruthless creator, builder, innovator, monster. And it knows that it's showing us something about what could happen. But I don't know if it even really knew how much foresight it was going to eventually have to our culture. But let's talk about it now. So it's, of course, directed by David Fincher with a script from Aaron Sorkin. This is based on The Accidental Billionaires by Ben Mesrich, though much of this film was written before apparently Aaron Sorkin even got a look at the book.
Right.
It is, of course, a true story. It's produced by Scott Rudin, which is notable here. In our notes, we've got that Scott Rudin produced 6 movies on 25 for 25. And he represented a very specific thing about American filmmaking and auteurs and a certain kind of mainstream serious adult filmmaking.
Right.
And you can make the case that this is the pinnacle of that in the last 25 years. The film stars Jesse Eisenberg, Andrew Garfield, Justin Timberlake, Armie Hammer, and Max Minghella. Music by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross.
Yeah.
I suspect we'll get into that a little bit in this discussion. It made $225 million on a $40 million budget. It is exactly 120 minutes.
That's so beautiful.
A clean 2 hours. It is not the only thing that is clean about this movie. One of the most you can eat off the floor movies ever made.
It is a Swiss watch.
Yes,
truly.
of
filmmaking design.
The movie premiered at the New York Film Festival in 2010, and I was at the premiere screening of this movie. Yes, and I levitated at the conclusion of this movie. So, I think most people know this, but as Harvard student Mark Zuckerberg creates the social networking site that would become known as Facebook, he is sued by the twins who claimed he stole their idea and by the co-founder who was later squeezed out of the business. That's the plot of the movie. I think it's a fairly accurate representation of what the film is tracking. This kind of twin betrayal that Mark Zuckerberg enacts upon these people.
Right.
And the ways in which that illuminates really what is underneath the rise of the tech bro and the way that social media has infected our souls and the ways in which we have been kind of disemboweled emotionally by a lot of what these people built over the last 25 years. So I say to you, why did this movie make our list?
It is our generation Citizen Kane in a pretty literal sense, which it is that it is about a media tech mogul of sorts who builds something and takes over the world while alienating everyone around him and ends up at the very end of the film sitting there searching for a piece of connection that represents maybe the shell of something that he once had. I mean, there is an actual structural and textural relationship to it. It is also like a deft, virtuosic cinema, like filmmaking exercise from Fincher that I think we sometimes undersell the amount of craft that goes into this because it is people talking in rooms, and it is a very talky Aaron Sorkin script, which is another reason that it's on this list. It's the best of Aaron Sorkin, and it is also about, as you said, the way that Silicon Valley and the internet and the tech world took over our way of life, and exposed something about not just the institutions that we had, but the institutions that are coming and are taking over. And most chilling to me, like the thoughtlessness behind all of it, that this is a machine of a movie, and this is about machines. And Aaron Sorkin writes all his version of Rosebud stuff as much as he can in it, but it is really about a bunch of men who are not thinking about what they're doing until it's too late. And even then, do they have the capacity to think about it? And it does continually feel like we are living in the consequences of a bunch of people in Adidas slides who just didn't consider anything.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true, and there's something even more going on beyond that, which is that their motivations for making a lot of these choices, some of which are kind of constructed in the story, but we can assume have some basis in reality, which is that these were very thin-skinned and capricious people. They were like all people. They were reacting to what just happened to them, or they were reacting to the way that they feared that the world saw them, and that they made a lot of choices to regain a kind of power in the best way that they knew how. In the case of Mark Zuckerberg, it was coding. It was figuring out a way to build something that he understood in a way nobody else did, and that was his way to exert power over the world, over his social circle, over the girl who broke his heart. It's interesting that Sorkin uses a lot of really conventional storytelling strategies that he kind of is inventing to make the conceit of the creation of Facebook make sense in a movie-going structure. But it never feels dishonest, like the entire Erica Albright character, who is an invention or is a kind of a composite of a series of encounters that Zuckerberg had. That character is not real, but it feels authentic. And it feels like the pettiness that we've seen exposed in Mark Zuckerberg over not just this period of time, but in the last 10 years is really revelatory and insightful. And I'm a fan of Aaron Sorkin's, but I feel at times I can feel his hands on the wheel of a story.
Yeah.
This is the rare case where the meeting point between Fincher's style and Sorkin's, strong writing and point of view, in addition to the fact that the story, I think, really can support this kind of shaping, makes this a very special case of docudrama that is also mass allegory. It's this is a story about everything that happened, and we're using these very real people as a portal into it. And I continue to be amazed by the way in which it was still correct. A lot of movies are beautiful and they move you and they reveal something true about our lives, or they thrill us and they make us excited. This movie is right. And it's unusual for a movie to be so right about something. And that doesn't make it great unto itself, because there's a lot of other things that we can talk about that we really like about it. But I got chills at the end of the movie again watching it last night, just thinking about that kind of sad, lonely guy who's I'll show you.
Right.
And the I'll show you quality of life right now that just sucks every day, that is just so unpleasant to watch people just score settling at all times.
Yeah.
This is kind of one of the ultimate score settling movies. And then what do you get at the end of it? But you get your money, I guess.
Yeah, you get Baby You're a Rich Man, which is still just, one of the great music cues after an amazing score. I was taken during my rewatch, which is the 1,000th time I've rewatched this movie, and I saved
it's got to be pretty high on both of our lists.
Yeah,
of
and I saved it for a treat after I'd done all my other work, and I was like, okay, now I get to watch my. It is a comfort movie about how everything is horrible, and you mentioned that it's Fincher and Sorkin, two a filmmaker and a screenwriter who we love independently, coming together. The sum is greater than the parts in this particular case, or rather, they bring out the best in each other, and I can be a mark for Sorkin's, sentimental streak, his cutesiness. Even like he usually tries to find the heart in anything, including, I guess, like maybe Mitt Romney, like saving the presidency or whatever that was.
No, his
like,
sense of musical theater, right?
Yes, and it can be a weakness. And Fincher, like, just absolutely eradicates that. And there are moments of, like softness or almost sincerity, but this is a mean movie. And I was struck by how mean it is which is, what we like about Fincher. That's where we come together. And so it's funny that it's a comfort watch. And then like all of the small character observations and small moments of pettiness and revenge. And I was thinking about, the weird stunt that Mark Zuckerberg pulls on an investor with Sean Parker's help. He goes in the bathrobe, and then I'd forgotten that results in the guy being so impressed that he invests more money. And you're just like, wow, we really do just live among, tiny, petulant men with too much money who are just accidentally designing how we live our lives while blogging about it. It is the coldness and the impulsive ickiness that is revealed that just shapes how we speak to each other now. Pretty depressing.
It is, and it's so unusual that a movie like this just creates such an ecstatic sensation. Because, to your point, I don't think that Jesse Eisenberg is the first thing that people think about when they think about this movie. I think they think about like the power of the story, that this like steam engine that is like moving through, the way that the real world kind of reflects some of the things, just what role Facebook has played in our lives in the last 25 years. I think we think about all those things. Jesse Eisenberg is the absolute center of this movie. He is the ticking clock of the movie. He's deeply unlikable.
Yeah.
Just, you said mean. He is, he's like wounded, but always protecting himself, always biting back, always ready with a snide response to whatever is shared with him. Even in moments when he lets us see that he feels he may have made a mistake, particularly that incredible confrontation with Eduardo near the end of the film, where you can read on Eisenberg's face, like, we've gone too far. The fact that the movie just sits with him the whole time, it never like breaks back for, oh, I hope Erica is okay. Let's spend 20 minutes with her. Yeah. Or, actually, like, we don't really spend very much time with Eduardo when he's just being Eduardo. It's always about Eduardo in relationship to Mark. And the fact that the movie works while you're spending all this time with a person that we do not like and we do not think is a nice person. And we can't even, the movie doesn't go out of its way to psychologize him. I was thinking about like, why is Mark Zuckerberg in this movie the way that he is? And it's not, it kind of dispenses with his trauma or his, anxiety or his resentments. It's a really interesting choice.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking about it in relationship to our conversation about There Will Be Blood, which makes a similar choice of, and that is even more opaque. And he, they even have the character saying like, I don't like to talk about that, or I don't like to remember these things. But, the script does have a pretty like classical scorned guy structure. And it, comes back to even like it has the Rashida Jones character, which, like not every casting can be right, but that's okay.
I think that's more an issue of the character than the casting, but
It's true. One of my lawyer friends was like, there is no way a second year associate is like an expert in voir dire. But anyway, listen, sometimes you need exposition.
Even perfect things have flaws. Ask any diamond jeweler.
So, but she has the callback. You're not an asshole. You're just trying so hard to be one. So there is within the text like a facile, like, oh, he started Facebook because this girl was like mean to him and he got drunk. But that's not actually what's happening in the film and in the character at all. And they don't explore what makes this person unable to hold his tongue or say the right thing or do the right, make the admirable choice ever. And every time he gets close to it, and you're like, every time you think, oh, well, he has a point, or like, oh, the like Winklevi, Like,
yeah, they do suck.
Like learn to code,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Like if you eat like 40, you have an idea, it's not worth anything if you can't do it. But
That's right.
then as soon as you get to that place, the film just like, and Eisenberg just pulls it away from you. And you're like, oh no, actually there's like something going on with you. And I don't know what it is, but you just can't. You cannot talk to people. You can't figure it out.
Yes, it is relentlessly bitter in a way that is, I find, really admirable. Like I really, you know, I talked about Eddington a bunch this year, and I'm just like, I'm so in awe of filmmakers who are so unafraid to push away the audience to make its point. This has so many things about it that are easy to kind of grab onto and enjoy, though, that it makes it really distinct and really rare in that way. But you're right on. A lot over the years, we've heard this levied against the movie, which is like, oh, this guy who got like his heart broken led to the creation of Facebook. It's like, no. In that first scene, he's a sour narcissist. He was already that guy. It's not as though he became that guy because Erica broke his heart.
Right.
Maybe it activated something ugly in him, but he was already bent out of shape about who he wasn't and how to get to the next place in his life and what he deserves.
Rowing crew. And,
all that stuff. All of these like petty resentments or frustrations about your lot in life that lead to, with this superpower that is, in this film, coding, but in life, the access to new kinds of developed power, right? Like that's really what this is about, is like, who are all these fucking ghouls who are not content with a modest life and will do anything to step on people and hurt them so they can get more. That's what the movie is really about. And it's so incendiary in the way that it's communicating that, and so fascinating. I totally agree with the way that you're framing it as Sorkin and Fincher kind of extinguishing what it can sometimes be unpleasant, or like the sort of like the small allergies that I have to either of their works, which is that sometimes Fincher is so ice that you don't feel like there's a person inside of the movie. And sometimes Sorkin is so like bibbity bobbity with things. And I'm like, what is this guy? Like, why is this guy such a goof? And
that's a really good description.
And they do cancel those things out in each other, you know? And they're both at really interesting times in their careers too. Like I see this very much as Fincher's like kind of second act in the middle of his real golden period, where he's coming off of this huge acclaim for The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, a movie that like was very successful, got a lot of Oscar nominations, but maybe was like a bit of a left turn for him, and like a real mastery of form movie, but him like kind of reaching for that emotion that he maybe isn't can't access that closely as a filmmaker,
right?
And you know that's
also his movie about his dad, so it's like a whole thing. You know? Well, one of the movies about his dad.
That's right. Well, they're all movies about our dads.
Sure.
We know that.
True.
We've learned that more and more in 2025 as well. And then Sorkin is also at a really interesting stage of his career. Like, I guess he's made Charlie Wilson's War. It's aftermath of The West Wing. He is certainly considered one of the great screenwriters in Hollywood and dramatists, but maybe like hasn't fully engaged I'm the best alive.
Yeah.
And there's like, it's weird because this movie is such an assignment movie for both of them. It's such a like, there's this book coming out. Do you guys want to make it? We should say, in addition to Scott Rudin, Mike DeLuca, also one of the producers of this movie. Kevin Spacey, also a producer of this movie. This is during the Amy Pascal era at Sony, when a lot of movies like this were being pushed to the fore. And, you know, it's like, it's a hot news story that we're turning into an exciting film from made for adults. It feels like a total relic. What's the comp right now? What's the comp in the last 10 years of a movie like this that was successful?
I mean, they're trying to make it again with the Social Reckoning, which I feel quite queasy about.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I think we both know where we stand on that. I think if it was directed by David Fincher, I would be incredibly open-minded.
Absolutely.
Because the story is still resonant.
Yeah, but even there, it's also, you know, no Fincher and no Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
I guess, and no Andrew Garfield, because the story has moved on. And I do think Andrew Garfield is also essential to this. There are kind of, you know, there are the twin betrayals, and then there are also the angel and the devil on Mark Zuckerberg's shoulder. Eduardo Saverin, and then Sean Barker, as played by Justin Timberlake. Incredible casting. You know, he's
excellent in the movie.
You win some, you lose some.
Yeah.
But the Eduardo character is the heart, is the Sorkin, but But because it's a Fincher movie, like he still is kind of a screw up and he makes, bad decisions and what happens. But I do think that that's without Garfield, it's ice cold. You don't have anyone to relate to, anyone to at least empathize with if you're not totally rooting for him because like, why didn't you just go to Silicon Valley, instead of staying in New York and pounding the pavement? And like, obviously advertising was not the right, he's wrong, but you still root for him. So
he's vulnerable in a world of invulnerable dicks. He's somebody who you can feel. Garfield's a very empathetic actor. He's an actor who always wears his heart on his sleeve in movies. And because you can feel how he's feeling, you want to be with Eduardo. In the grand scheme of things, is Eduardo a hero of our times? No, he's like another tech guy.
Who got a huge amount of money and his name restored to the masthead.
Yes.
Garfield also brings like some warmth to what is otherwise like a very muted movie and just some highs. I mean, Chris loves to do Mark, but you need someone loud. Yep. You need something like to fight against, or otherwise it does become sort of inert.
Yeah, I think he just has like access to his feelings. The moment when Brenda Song's character recognizes him at the speech and he realizes what the creation of Facebook will mean for him, which is like he's going to get that ego boost and that sense of being seen that like the fact that that's just not enough for Mark. Like that doesn't convey in the way that it would for most 21-year-old guys where they're like, damn, Brenda Song is interested in what I have to say about anything, which would be very powerful for most people. Mark Zuckerberg is on another path.
Yeah.
He's on a warpath that is much more disturbing. And, who knows if that's accurate to what was going on at that time. We can't really say. But the movie conveys that really well. And I agree. Garfield is really, really special. I didn't have a huge relation to him as an actor when I saw this movie. It's another example of Fincher kind of plucking somebody and being like, here, think about this. They're really special. Eisenberg's kind of the opposite. Eisenberg in 2010 is coming off of Zombieland and Adventureland. And is a very rare kind of actor. Feels like an actor who would have been very famous in the 1970s. A lot of hallmarks of Dustin Hoffman and Elliot Gould and Robert Duvall, a kind of like handsome character actor who can carry a movie on his shoulders. But I was just trying to think of like who are the other actors that would even are like in this league, guys who are now, they're roughly our age that would have been up for this part that you would have said like, okay, they could carry the movie. It's like funky list that I made.
Yeah. And they're all too charismatic, like Jesse Eisenberg is like very charismatic. I've seen the Now You See Me films and I've seen him like thanking, the social media managers on the, on like his press tours, but he can turn it off. None of the people you wrote down here with the, like, even if when Jake Gyllenhaal turns it off, there's like anti-charisma going.
Well, so I'll read the names and we can kind of talk through it very briefly just because I thought it was an interesting exercise. I mean, guys who are roughly between 40 and 45 right now, Jake Gyllenhaal, John Krasinski, Ryan Gosling, Rami Malek, Eddie Redmayne, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. That's kind of the zone of the type of actor that we're looking for now. Jake Gyllenhaal is jacked. John Krasinski is 6'4". Like, not all of this makes sense, but just trying to think about who could carry a movie like this. There aren't a lot of actors.
Right.
And if you don't get Mark Zuckerberg right, the movie doesn't work at all.
No.
So I think that alone is a fascinating feat. You could see it with Eddie Redmayne. It's not impossible to imagine the movie. It just wouldn't work very well.
No. It would be too emotional. Like his, he does all the things with his big eyes.
Yeah.
And you're just like, okay, you're sad. We know.
Yeah.
You just want to connect with people. And that's the thing is that like Mark Zuckerberg as played by Jesse Eisenberg sort of, I don't know if he actually wants to connect with people or he wants the approval, which is different than actually opening himself up to anyone.
I think maybe this has been true of men for hundreds of years, but I think he's a very modern condition where he just wants to be told he's great. He wants to be told not only that he has value, but that he's great. And he can't really get anybody to tell him that, or at least tell him in exactly the way that would make him happy.
Right.
And that we're meant to believe that that is what keeps motivating him. And you look at the way that Facebook has grown over time. The movie ends with this grace note about how Facebook is now worth $25 billion.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what Facebook's market cap is right now?
No.
I believe it's $1.16 trillion.
Yeah.
This is only 15 years ago this movie was made.
Yeah.
And that's how exponentially it has grown since then. So there's been something ceaseless about the path that they've been on too that I find really fascinating. Let's talk about the score.
Yeah.
Many years ago, I described the score as the ultimate writing to music.
Mm-hmm.
That when I was writing a movie column at The Ringer, I would always listen to this score while writing a column at midnight. And it was a very propulsive, strange, but used the word comforting. And I found it comforting too. Felt like very safe and metronomic in its way. It's very unusual for a movie like this. It sounds more like the score to a horror movie or maybe a very like tense thriller than a docudrama about college students. And the decision to bring on Reznor and Ross at the time felt like kind of novel. I don't recall if this is exactly their first score, but it's very early in their career.
Right. And it breaks out.
And they're now considered by some people to be the greatest composers in film right now.
I mean, it is essential to this movie if you get this wrong, then because it drives so many of the like memorable set pieces, specifically the building face mash intercut with the final club party.
Mm-hmm.
And you really get a portrait of Harvard and elitism, and it's all coming together. But it is just coding, like so. If you don't have that driving, and I was listening to it on the drive on the way here, and I was thinking, I guess in the way that the Matrix like visualized what the internet sounds like, and when you or looks like, and you see the zeros and ones, and you're like, oh, everything's green. This is what the internet sounds like now. It just kind of coined it. And so it is kind of literal when you listen to it that way. There are bleeps and bloops, It's
totally.
Like, boop, 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 boop.
No, I mean, the Reznor casting is so inspired because there's two tracks of his music. There's this one that is really kind of sad and plaintive and kind of like classically morose.
Right, which is the opening theme, which
Hand Covers Bruise, which, is like very like the plinking piano and there's like a real melancholy in a lot of his best songs. But then also he's this like kind of techno-industrial electronic figure who is using synthesizers and computers to make music that is like a digitized heartbeat. And the movie also has this kind of propulsive club sound. And the two things are colliding. And what a perfect evocation of the weirdness of this movie of like sad boys making powerful shit with technology that can then make you feel like alive. And the whole idea of like being on the internet and constantly triggering these hits in your mind that make you feel like keep going. The serotonin blast that you get from going through these experiences, clicking, I like that girl better, that girl, left, right, swipe, like all the feelings that the movie evokes so clearly. It's just an amazing idea. And I guess it's not surprising, and it's not surprising that someone like David Fincher would have good sense to be into Nine Inch Nails and know that Reznor could do something like this. But it works so well.
And it's it immediately became kind of a turning point in terms of music scores and a reference and whatever came next in terms of people making interesting choices, or even, whether it's going towards, electronic styles or just doing something that you wouldn't expect. It's like, oh, they're kind of in the like Reznor Ross mold. And it really did break through in a way that is, I guess, not surprising, but remarkable.
I think you nailed it. It is a turning point in what we think film music can be. It is so far away from, James Newton Howard doing some.
And imagine how bad The Social Network would be if it were, James Newton Howard.
Yeah. I mean, it would just be like fine. It's the same thing with the Eisenberg question where there's just like a series of really, really good choices. I am very amused always by the needle drops in the movie, which feel more like a Gen X filmmaker being like, here's a cool White Stripes song that I like that maybe these kids were listening to in this bar in 2003. And then like the Dead Kennedys drop and the Zap drop and like songs that just like, 20-year-olds hanging out in Palo Alto in 2004 were probably not listening to. I don't think California Uber Alice was like the kickoff to the launch of the Facebook team. But it says a lot, I think, about how that generation views these kids, and that there was like a misappropriation of the punk rock spirit of the generation that came before them. You know, that in the like in the tech crusader mentality, you think you are like breaking the paradigm and breaking the system, when in fact you are just like fortifying the system with new tools. And again, I think the choices in the movie are really, really smart to that extent. And also the fact that like there's always like an older guy who's right behind the scenes who's like actually making things happen. You know, we don't really spend any time with Peter Thiel in this movie, you know, but Peter Thiel is an engine of what transpires.
I mean, it does hit differently than it did in 2010.
Yeah.
When you say like, do you know who Peter Thiel is?
Yeah, but the movie knows.
Who's that? The movie knows. Yeah.
It's very powerful in the way that it associates like who really are the decision makers. And obviously someone like Mark Zuckerberg has become the decision maker. But, you know, there's so many things about this that like haven't aged well, for lack of a better phrase, to borrow a rewatchablesism. It's like Armie Hammer.
Yeah.
Produced by Kevin Spacey.
You know,
like, there's like a bunch of stuff in this. It's just like, ooh, gosh.
I think, you know, we've learned more about Scott Rudin's behavior than we knew in 2020. Yeah.
Yes.
No, it's not.
What does that tell you about the movie?
But it is also, you know, make what you know, I guess. And also that there is something poetic, I guess, about this is a movie about, you know, systems and all the guys behind the curtain or reinventing the curtain and no one is behaving well.
Yes.
And, you know, that's what does breaking something to improve it mean?
It's a really, really good point.
Yeah.
I think that one of my takeaways watching it last night was that the idea of just because you can do something doesn't mean you should really resonates. And that I feel like that era is over. Like we're not in society at large. It's like there are not guardrails really anymore.
Yeah.
In terms of what can be said, what can be done, what you can do at other people's expense.
Right. There are no gentlemen of Harvard.
Exactly.
Well, sure, but even you know, even the idea of gentlemen of Harvard is played as ludicrous and ridiculous. Yes. And speaking of canceled people, then they demand their meeting for the Harvard Code of Ethics in front of Larry Summers.
Yes, exactly.
Who is the president.
These people keep rising to the surface. Yes.
And it's assholes all the way down,
yes,
right?
Yes. And like it's a real takes one to know one kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the fact that all of these people populate this world, I think tells you everything you need to know about what really is going on in this world. The Gentlemen of Harvard thing is really interesting. I would say I don't have as much exposure to these institutions that you've had over the years.
Yeah.
I'm curious for your insights on how they operate and how accurate they are, because I think to the common consumer, pretty mistrustful, but
mistrustful of the institution or the portrayal on this.
No, the institutions and the people who come out of them.
Yeah,
and
of course.
But
yes.
that feeling that like my middle class parents had when I was growing up has been contorted and co-opted by American political leaders now about why you can't trust.
Oh, I see. Okay.
You know, the elevated classes or the folks at these elite institutions.
Yeah.
This movie has like a slightly different attitude towards it. It is a very 2010 attitude toward it, which
Correct.
is like these people are all stuffed shirts and they don't actually do anything or make anything.
Right. And, you know, and that it's handed down to them and that the Winklevi call their dad's in-house lawyer. And there's a whole bit about like they are going through like the credentials, you know, the whole thing about the final clubs, which is like real. And that, you know, the Porcellian is a real club. They all are. But the Mark Zuckerberg character listing, well, so-and-so was like this and so-and-so, it does it apt, and I think at least 2010 accurate reflection of like the old world vibe of these places and Harvard in particular, and the value that like the gatekeeping that those people, the final clubs and anyone who tries to get in Harvard, and really like at least in 2010 what you thought you were paying for or what you thought that you were inheriting if you went to one of those places. So I think it's accurate, and I think, you know, the Larry Summers scene is perfect in many ways because like two entitled rich kids who get the meeting because of their dad and then are whining about the Harvard Code of Ethics, and then the former Fed chair who is now stepping back for, you know, like everyone is just gross and ugly and connected in a way to things that you don't want to be connected.
Yeah. And the idea that, there's like a friction in the movie where we do want this web of connectivity amongst this closed circuit of people to be broken. We do want to see it broken.
Yeah.
We don't want all this power to be concentrated in this place. It feels like a very kind of ancient concept of like the Roman consuls are all gathered together and they're deciding the fate of the common people. However, careful what you wish for, because the way it can be shattered can be, society altering.
I mean, that's what the Face Mash Final Club party, like intercut, is to me just like a real flex on a number of levels, including the actual, just, the filmmaking, the cutting, but thematically, on the one hand, you have this guy building a gross website to pick which girl is hotter, and also, hacking all of the quote unquote stealing things. I mean, who really cares, right? But which is part of the fabric of the setup. And and then you're cutting to all the girls being bussed in to the club and, showing off for these guys in backwards hats. That's my only note about the accuracy of how these worlds are portrayed. Is like no one in those rooms is that attractive.
Yes.
Just like for a note. And I do also wonder whether they're wearing backwards hats. But that's
You think no one's ever worn a backwards hat at Harvard?
In the Phoenix, I don't know.
Okay.
But
it's good to know.
I just it's a different type of bro that they're going for, but I could be wrong.
I don't think I would have fit in at Ithaca College.
Like with their suit. I mean, like at the party. I'm sure they're wearing on their own time.
I mean, that sequence does a really, really smart thing, which is that it shows you this fantasia of wealth and power where you watch the girls grinding and dancing and the guys kind of ogling, and you see that like this is the inside of the inside.
Yeah.
This is the real Skull and Crossbones in 2010 or in 2003. But then the party, it feels like, is literally interrupted by the introduction of the tools that these guys create. The conclusion of that sequence is someone's looking at a laptop and they're like, whoa, check this out. And then that is like a perfect metaphor for everything that happened to like multiple generations of people where they're just like, we no longer like ogle girls and go to parties. We just like look at our phones and our laptops all the time.
Right.
It's just such a smart idea.
But it's like,
exactly.
But like the fundamental problem is unchanged. It's just how we're doing it and who has the power.
Well, intensified and worsened because there's no human interaction. I'm not saying it was good the way that like the elites controlled people, but
sure. It's arguable whether, I as a young woman of college age, when this was happening, I don't know whether I would rather be in the room at the Phoenix or on the website. Yeah. I honestly don't know what's better for me in my development. Happily, I was neither.
Well, I think that's another important thing to note, is that the three movies that are at the top of our list, I think, came out at pretty critical developmental periods of our life.
Yeah.
And so The 25th Hour is a movie that was released when I guess I was 21. And you were 19, and The Social Network was released when I was 28, and you were 26.
Yeah.
But the period that it captures is the same period in which the 25th Hour was released, which is very pivotal for us. Facebook was essentially just getting introduced in my junior and senior year of college. And I remember it taking off like a flash right after I got out of college. Yeah. You were at an Ivy. So you must have gotten it early.
Yeah,
we did. Early.
Yeah. I had it my sophomore year.
Okay. What was your experience with it?
I mean, exactly what is portrayed. But I thought you wrote that the Dakota Johnson scene is not good, but that's how life happened in 2004. And
I think
And not, I never
good.
woke up in bed with Sean Parker. I would like to state that for anyone listening at home.
There's a critical flaw in the movie that many people have pointed out, this girl would not have seen things in this fashion, and no human did. Sean Parker did not invent Facebook. Sean Fanning invented Facebook. Mm-hmm. We knew this in 2001.
You mean Napster?
Sorry, Napster.
Yeah.
No one knew who Sean Parker was. You knew who Sean Parker was maybe if you read like Forbes.
Right.
Or you read Billboard.
Mm-hmm.
Sean Fanning was the kid. He was the Mark Zuckerberg of that story. So that scene, which is
Sean
massive.
Parker invented Napster.
Yes.
Nice to meet you.
Yes, that's like a massive exposition dump that's queuing us up for this character. You don't need it. I guess maybe you're revealing he has a proclivity for young girls, which the movie also points back to a number of times throughout. But that's the one sequence when I watch it.
Then you wouldn't get
I'm like,
what's your latest preneur, which is still one of my favorite lines of this movie.
I think she's quite charming. You can make the case she's never been better than in this movie.
Is anyone majoring in French at Stanford?
It's a really good question. Why go to Stanford for your French degree?
It's also not the only young woman majoring in French in this movie, because then the Oxford guy's daughter, he's like, French literature, didn't know there was such a thing. So I guess one of Aaron Sorkin, like someone in Aaron Sorkin's life who's a woman, was majoring in French, and he was upset about that.
Right when you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we think Rashida Jones's character also majored in French while studying French law? The scene is just like, it's just funny. It feels a little bit outside of the energy of the rest of the movie. And it is really riffing on Justin Timberlake's kind of turn of the century celebrity. He is another figure who kind of rose to power.
It's true.
In the midst of this Napster craze and then ultimately social media. And Justin Timberlake's not what he once was. He's not, he is understood socially and culturally in such a different way. In 2010,
the world tour was still going in 2010.
He was considered cool. Like I know this has got real like back to bed grandpa vibes, but Justin Timberlake was cool. He was corny. He was like a Disney kid.
Is this?
But he was a cool version of that.
When was it? The 2020 experience? Was this before?
That was the beginning of the end.
But this was before that.
Oh yeah.
So this is like before Mirror.
Oh, yeah. I think this is before Future Sex Love Sounds, right? Or maybe it's right around the same time.
No, it can't be. Justin Timberlake albums. This is the logical conclusion. No. Future Sex Love Sounds was 2006. Right. Listen, my college experience.
Future Sex Love Sounds, 2020 experience is what, 2012?
2013.
2013.
Okay, so yeah, this is the pivot point. And you really have to credit Fincher for understanding like what was lurking beneath Justin Timberlake.
Yes. But this movie has contempt for Sean Parker.
I know.
And does Justin Timberlake know the way in which David Fincher is reading into him so elegantly?
I do not think so.
It's amazing. It's an amazing choice.
It's beautiful.
Did Justin Timberlake mean anything to you, Jack?
Not as much as it was for you guys.
Okay.
But everything you said is perfectly put. Like Fincher weaponizes everything that is the worst about Justin Timberlake in this role. It's amazing.
And it's like he opened like the rest of our eyes. And then, out comes...
all downhill from there. Yeah. I mean, he did a few other things that didn't really help him.
No.
But it is a brilliant bit of casting. I think there's great casting all the way down the line in this movie that is really, really incredible. What else? What else do you want to say about this movie that means so much to us and to this show?
I mean, we've talked a lot about how prescient it was, how much it understands the world that we live in, and to some extent how it has lived on. But it's kind of hard to. I do feel that some of the younger listeners of this show who weren't there don't understand kind of the instant cultural impact that this film had. I mean, it made $240 million, so that's good.
Yes,
but we talk a lot about films on this movie that are art for art's sake. And I think it's very important to keep making real art. And I also think The Social Network is incredible on a like basic artistic level. Everyone is doing their job perfectly. But we also like movies that find an audience, that have a cultural moment. Like we are children of Hollywood. And so there is something that... this movie was a huge success in the moment, but it changed the way that we understood Facebook. It changed the way we understood the internet. It like the sociological impact of this movie is cool because, movies still matter. And so when a film finds not just its audience, but kind of its place in the culture, that is significant.
Yeah, and I think for us specifically, it's a developmental stepstone. Like it's just a time in your life where you're like, this is an adult examination of something that we experience as younger people, and that tends to always make a deeper impact on us. If we were 60 when the movie came out, or 10 when the movie came out, it might not be number one on our list, even though we still would have huge admiration for Fincher and Sorkin and the like. This is kind of dipping into the legacy of the movie question, but there's a couple things that I wanted to talk through. One, this movie is a massive breakthrough in digital filmmaking. I'm fond of films that are shot on film.
As am
I
I.
advocate for going to see movies projected on film. I think it's very important. I think some filmmakers are getting really deft and adept at digital photography in movies. Fincher's always been good. And this is like a massive exploration of the different kinds of texture and feeling that you can get from digital. Now, this is a movie about the digital world. So it makes sense that in a movie like this, you would want to explore, I guess it's the red one is the camera that was used on this film. Jeff Cronenweth shot it, and he shot a lot of Fincher's movies. But it is very dark, very intimate, very smooth. That can sometimes be like code for like gloppy or like AI enhanced or something. In this particular case, it is porcelain. Like the movie is meant to be this smooth feeling, like running your hands over a Dell laptop in 2003. That you're meant to have this kind of like frictionless experience. That's kind of what the internet created. It created this idea of like convenience and ease and the false sense of connectivity that we believe we have, when in fact, what we really have is like division. We have like literally tools in front of us that are keeping us apart. But the use of digital makes all that make sense. It makes all of it feel in a way that like it communicates, at least to me, that there's danger in a lot of this stuff, but also it can look good and it can be really appealing.
Yeah.
And that's what draws us in.
And it's not all great filmmakers can just pick up a new camera or digital and make it work. And I can think of a lot of my favorite filmmakers who have tried like their digital because it fit the era or the subject of the film, and it doesn't look quite right. So this is to me it's clinical, the way that it all looks, and it's supposed to be sterile and and like unexamined and cut off from everybody else.
It's like a colonoscopy though. Like that's this clinical aspect of it. It's like it's really getting in there.
Yeah.
It's like everything is picture perfectly clear.
Yeah.
Another point that I think you've made here is really smart about the legacy is the trailer.
Yeah.
So the trailer is unbelievable. It does introduce a convention.
Ba, 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 ba. Yeah.
What is the song? Remind me of the song choice.
It's Radiohead. It's Creep.
Right, Creep. The children's choir cover of Creep, which wouldn't. I don't know if it was the very first example of that. There probably was something that came before it, but it launched 1,000 ships.
I still remember where I was when I saw the trailer.
Where were you?
Like, I was at the BuzzFeed offices where I worked briefly, the new ones. There have been many since, and we just watched it on loop over and over again. And then I think like this was still the era where then you would just listen. I like listened to a children's choir singing Radiohead. I was like, I'm not really sure. And then people started doing all the mashups. They were like, oh, you can put a children's choir singing Radiohead over anything and make it look, meaningful or like important. So it was understood in real time as like, we do this now.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
This is maybe a little penetrating, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Yeah.
Did you at any point in your life worry about having friends or enough friends or feeling socially like you were in a good place?
At any point in my life?
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly in high school, right?
I'm asking you.
Yeah, absolutely. And which is, I guess, pre-internet. And I think high school is particularly isolating for, well, I was going to say young women, but everyone. I know it's hard out here for the guys as well. And you don't know who your friends are supposed to be, but there is such a performance embedded into our ideas of what American high school should be and how you're supposed to fit into it. And I went to a pretty like quote unquote traditional high school. So it was football and cheerleaders and or you're going to do all your homework. And I was like the homework girl. So I think, yes, in the sense that I was worried about like the outward perception of it all, which is a little bit because of high school and a little bit because of the age. I don't know if I was like worried about amassing like friends on Facebook.
Well, I mean, that's why I bring it up because the the trailer is so propulsive and so impressive. And so like kind of inviting the way a thriller would be inviting. And it has this immortal tagline. You don't get to 500 million friends without making a few enemies, which is written in this white Helvetica text across Jesse Eisenberg's face on that poster, which is just an incredible movie poster as well. Again, this is like, we used to be a proper country stuff, you know, where like the studios and the might that they had to work really hard to nail this stuff did make a difference. But
everyone had staplers thrown at them. So,
well, among other things.
Yes.
I pointed out because one thing that the movie really circles well that I don't think I really, I don't think I intellectualized when we were going through it with the rise of social media was the idea of the friend request. This film ends on a friend request. The idea that you could ask someone, will you be my friend digitally?
Yeah.
And await their response. And the anxiety that provoked in us. And I think most people will relate to what you described in high school. I actually had a little bit more trouble in the first few months of college than I did in high school. In high school, I always felt like I had a big group of people that I was friends with. And then in college, I was like, oh, I have to like make an effort in a way that I don't really know how to. But I think most people going through life, you move to a new city, you start a new job, you know, you meet your partner's friends, like there's kind of disorientation socially that a lot of people feel at different stages of their life. This movie introduced like a new and not this movie, the Facebook did, but this movie located a very dynamic and intense version of that. We don't have social media in quite the same way.
It literalizes the performance, right? It literalizes the perception and kind of makes the perception the overriding experience. And, you know, now we have it and it's like Instagram versus real life and all of that stuff, which we all...
That is the evolution of that thing.
Yeah, which like, you know, we all live by. And I obviously only, you know, I still only post the cute happy pictures of my children. But
there are no unhappy photos of my child. Why would I take an unhappy photo?
I really thought I was going to get a crying baby at Santa this year and I like wanted it, but I didn't. Well,
you got a good performance.
Yeah, well, I think that the unhappy Santa photos are classic too, you know, but in our life, you know, now you only ever see the smiling ones. So
it's true.
But I think you're right that this era was a cementing of what maybe only existed in our heads or interpersonally, and then it was like written in ink, as Rooney Mara says, like on the internet, and took on a life of its own.
Yes,
and for us, that was a big transition. I know. I'm sorry, Jack. That's all you've ever known in life. We screwed up. You know,
I did nothing.
As one battle taught us, it's not what we wanted to hand down to you.
Yeah,
but we're sorry, and it's your turn.
It's your time now, Jack. You got this, buddy. All you got to do is destroy Facebook.
Yeah, this is in many ways the most like go to bed grandpa podcast of all, but that's okay. It's our podcast.
Well, I think it's helpful, like as we get to the end of this list, to talk a bit about like the emotional forces that led to the creation of the list. You know, like there's no good list and there's no bad list. It's personal choices. Right. This is a movie that clicked for both of us. Two people who've really spent the bulk of their lives working on the internet and seeing the ways in which the internet can be incredibly creative and gratifying and exciting, or even just like endorphin hitting.
Yeah.
And also all the ways that can like make people feel bad and hurt them and put distance between them. And the illusion of access, the illusion of connectivity is so powerful and so wrong. And yet I've told stories on this show many times that like some of my best friends, including your husband and Chris Ryan, I only know because of the internet. Yeah. Like I would not have been connected to those people. So like the power that the movie is expressing is real. It's just like used for evil.
Yeah, but also the movie does not really express or commit itself to any of the upsides of the internet.
It's true. That's a very Sorkin thing.
I mean, it is. And it's even to the point where, you know, at some point, Mark Zuckerberg does get chastised for blogging because this is, Aaron Sorkin lived through all the West Wing message boards and all the Sunset, you know, Studio 60 message boards.
And you know what? It's understandable. No one likes to be criticized. No one likes to be criticized in permanent ink on the internet.
Right.
That's not easy. It's not that. The point is more that the movie does understand that this kicked the portal wide open, but everybody walked through in handcuffs. You know what I mean? Like just because you got in the door, it doesn't mean that you're free. And it's just a fascinating exploration of that. Whether or not the filmmakers projected all of this deep meaning onto the movie at the time in which they were making it. Who knows? It pretty much doesn't matter at this point. Like, the movie is eternal for us for all of these reasons. And yet,
it didn't. Yeah,
it did
incredible
not.
segue.
It did not win Best Picture.
Yeah,
even though it was widely hailed as a masterpiece, was a box office hit, felt chilling in the way that it summed up all of these feelings that were just really rising to the surface in our culture. 8 nominations, 3 wins. It won for adapted screenplay, Aaron Sorkin. It won for editing,
which
Kirk Baxter and Angus Wall, this is one of the tightest, sharpest, just like sexiest movies ever made because of that. Like, it is just gorgeously put together. And
the 2 hour, there is a precision to it. Like, everything has to hit its mark exactly.
Yes. For like super organized type A people, this movie is fucking pornography. And then Reznor and Ross won for score, of course, which is a great win and a very cool win, and like we give the Academy a lot of shit over the years about the dumb stuff that they do, and I'm about to give them shit about this one, but giving Reznor and Ross this score win, that's awesome. That's really cool. That's a fairly progressive choice, to your point about how it being like a turning point in film music composition. King's Speech wins Best Picture.
I mean, this was tough. And Tom Hooper wins director over David Fincher. And David Fincher still does not have a Best Director Oscar or any Oscar.
No, he does not have any Oscar.
It was bad. It was bad in the moment. It gets worse the further we get from it. Obviously, Harvey Weinstein played a massive role in that. And this was kind of one of the last, I think, major triumphs.
Not the last.
Not right, of course,
because the artist comes immediately after this. What the fuck?
I mean, things were bad.
I mean, that's abominable to go. Were they in succession? I think they were in succession. King's Speech and The Artist. I mean, that's just brutal. Anyhow, I think the Hooper win is really bad. Let's just look back at the Hooper win really quickly. The other nominees that year were Darren Aronofsky for Black Swan, David O. Russell for The Fighter, Fincher, and Joel and Ethan Coen for True Grit. I mean, say what you will about the character of any of those 4 men who were nominated alongside Tom Hooper. They are bigger stars, more celebrated auteurs with huge careers. Also, all these movies were big hits.
Yeah.
How the fuck did the King's Speech? What happened? How did this happen? I will never get over this. I will never get over it. From the moment it happened, I was like, how can we possibly live in these times? There have been many of these over the years. I think we can talk about a couple of the most extraordinary and baffling choices. Most of them are ex post facto. Most of them are like, How Green Was My Valley over Citizen Kane. That's one we talk about all the time on the show. You called this is like Citizen Kane if he went on trial in the middle of the movie, right? That's what the Social Network is, right? Where you get these deposition sequences where you get to explore the William Randolph Hearst type character being interrogated by lawyers.
Right.
But How Green Was My Valley came from John Ford. It's a big, romantic, beautiful family epic. You kind of see it. Citizen Kane was not considered the greatest movie of all time when it was first released. Forrest Gump over Shawshank or Pulp Fiction,
right.
It's a bad win.
Yeah.
It's a bad win.
Right.
I like Forrest Gump. I'm on the record about liking Forrest Gump.
Right.
Pulp Fiction was massive in its time as well, but you could see it was like an edgier movie.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It was a new form of filmmaking. It was Harvey Weinstein in an earlier era. Mm-hmm. It was a director who we didn't have a huge relationship to.
Yeah.
Robert Zemeckis had already given us a lot of big movies and Back to the Future and so on and so forth.
Dances with Wolves over Goodfellas is a tough one.
It is. You can see the case for it.
But yeah.
Right? Like, American Western.
Yeah.
Like a ultimately uplifting, or not uplifting, but like heartful tale of the origins of this country, like a slightly more progressive bent on the stories that we saw set in the American West, with a sort of bona fide screen icon at the center of it, writing, directing, doing all that.
You understand why it happened, even though if you don't agree.
Yes. And you can still go back and look at Dances with Wolves and say there's a lot in this movie that is good. It's not Goodfellas, just like How Green Was My Valley is not Citizen Kane, but you can kind of see it.
Mm-hmm.
Even Shakespeare in Love over Saving Private Ryan, even that, you could say Tom Stoppard's script.
Yeah. Really
great performances. There's something like about the kind of verve in that movie that is at least defensible to me.
Right.
I
always liked it. And, with the release of Hamnet, I'm like, oh, I really like it.
Yes. And you can also say that Steven Spielberg already had his moment with Jurassic Park and Schindler's List and winning the Oscar and all. That all happened. So the Academy was like, you know what? We are going to zag on this. Crash over Brokeback is just as bad. I'm not going to pretend like it's not.
Right.
It's just as bad. Crash sucks. It sucked when it came out.
Right.
Brokeback Mountain is a beautiful movie. It's probably like number 27 or 28 on our list. It should have won. I think it's a borderline masterpiece. So I won't pretend like that one isn't as defensible, because it's not. But all the way up until that point, and The King's Speech is not a bad film. It's just like not really anything interesting. Like it's fine.
It's just like it is if you have Winston Churchill in your movie, you win an Oscar rule, which is really silly.
But you win Best Director?
I don't defend it. Are you kidding
I've done
me?
This spiel
You
so many
haven't even seen Tom Hooper's Les Miserables, okay? So
Yeah,
you
I
can't
haven't.
come to me
I
and
haven't.
say
Should I?
that you understand the disgrace of Tom Hooper
Have I
winning over
seen
David
any
Fincher.
Tom Hooper films since he defeated
Do
David
you
Fincher?
know how close it is on Anne Hathaway's face when she's singing for her Oscar?
I totally forgot. He directed Cats.
Yeah. Listen. It's not good.
You know how many films he's made since then?
Cats?
Yeah.
0.
0.
Yeah. That was a tough one.
How did this happen? How could we let this happen?
I really, really don't know. I mean, it is an extension of how could we let Harvey Weinstein, happen? And there
Run
are
the
there
Oscars
are far
for 10 years?
far graver things that Harvey Weinstein did.
No, of
that
course. He's a monster.
So it's really bad.
It's really bad.
Thumbs down.
I'm sorry. I probably will have the energy to do that spiel for the rest of my life.
That's good.
Yeah.
You got to channel things.
I do believe in this
You
film.
won't have earned it until you've sat through Tom Hooper's Les Miserables. I just want to let you know.
Some additional context for how crazy this loss was for The Social Network.
Okay.
Only 3 films have ever swept the Big 4 Critics Awards.
Okay.
Schindler's List, which did go on to win Best Picture. LA Confidential, which did not.
Right.
And The Social Network. Now, one battle after another?
Has it swept?
Not yet.
That's right. What are we waiting for?
New York Film Critics,
right?
Los Angeles Film Critics, NBR, and I don't believe the National Society of Film Critics has weighed in yet.
Okay.
That will be announced on January 3rd.
Interesting.
So we can find out very soon whether or not it joins it. In our There Will Be Blood episode, I quoted Manohla Dargis's review at the time. I'll quote her again here. Mr. Fincher and Mr. Sorkin offer up a creation story for the digital age and something of a morality tale, one driven by desire, marked by triumph, tainted by betrayal, and inspired by the new gospel. The geek shall inherit the earth. Manohla always the best. Yeah, I think this came in at number 10 on the Times Top 100.
Yeah.
And also number 10 on the Readers. Are you surprised by that placement?
No, again, I do think that it has been a little lost to time, or underappreciated, or people didn't connect with it in the way that we did. Where was Zodiac on
Zodiac
those
is
lists?
19.
Okay, so it did top Zodiac. I mean, do you
Gone Girl is 64.
Also just a phenomenal film.
Yeah.
What
were we gonna ask?
Do you want to get into this over Zodiac? This is the Fincher pick?
Let's do that.
Okay.
You want me to express my feelings first, or do you want to talk about the proposed trade?
Oh, right. So a couple weeks ago, you said you would give me one battle over There Will Be Blood if I gave you Zodiac over Social Network, which I thought was just 2 bad decisions.
Okay.
And I said, absolutely not.
It was a ripe fodder for a podcast, which we are now exploring. I thought it was an interesting idea. I'll make the case for it. Zodiac does not have Aaron Sorkin, and so it doesn't neatly tie up this series that we've done. And I think you're right to speak to twinned interests of ours. Zodiac does something. Zodiac is the master in the way that The Social Network is There Will Be Blood.
Yeah.
Zodiac and that those 2 films that are the more mysterious explorations by filmmakers at turning points in their careers. You know, there's something interesting about that. And Zodiac is a movie to me that is still unresolved, not just in terms of the crime in the film, but in terms of what obsession really does to us. The Social Network is also a film about obsession. This is a recurring theme for all of Fincher's work. I think it is the movie that is the most representative of his work.
I think that's fair.
And I'm very excited to watch it again, but it's a different kind of watch than the Social Network watch that you were describing, which I shared, which I was like, this is fun. You know, like it's really enjoyable to just be, you know, to be on the hang glider of this movie and to just be flying through in 1 hour and 56 minutes the entire story of how everything came apart. The Zodiac is longer, more discursive.
Right.
It has way more characters. It's a much bigger world. It's more confusing.
More, it's upsetting in a different way.
It is.
And, you know, I can think of specific set pieces that are so messed up, and they're like electrifyingly messed up. So you're like, I can't believe you're doing this. And now I feel really terrible.
Yes.
And that can happen all at once in broad daylight. I do feel that we already have a movie from one of our great male female filmmakers about how being obsessed in California in a time that is not the present or the recent past.
Yes.
Can really fuck with you.
Yeah. And that film is called Mission Impossible Fallout. I agree with you. I was offering to trade because I was like, there's no way you can get away with There Will Be Blood and Zodiac. They're too similar in a way.
Exactly.
They're too similar in terms of what they're trying to accomplish.
I think.
And they came out within a month of each other.
Right. And There Will Be Blood is truer, is your PTA pick, and that's your passion. Yes. So if we were going to do that, then there's no reason to do Zodiac as well.
I agree. I understand it. It's the only other movie that I think was really genuinely contending for me. I agree that Gone Girl is very much in third place, and is a great movie that we love, and I think is also still a bit misunderstood and incredibly clever and insightful about a lot of things in our culture and the way in which we consume and identify celebrity, what we share publicly about our relationship versus what's really going on.
It's an incredible movie about Ben Affleck, who is the patron saint of my half of this podcast.
Yes. He's made a bunch of movies this century, though. You know, he has not been, Panic Room, very slick, cool thriller that I love. The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, a film I've always had a hard time getting into, to be honest with you. So that wasn't really under consideration. Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, awesome movie.
Banger.
Awesome movie, great winter holiday movie, underrated Christmas movie. A movie I like a lot. A movie I would love to do on the rewatchables.
All-time Enya movie?
Absolutely. Among many other things. Mank?
Yeah. We've got a soft spot for Mank. Yeah, who doesn't like Mank?
A lot of people. Yeah.
That's true.
I think it's bad. Yeah, they don't like it.
But Mank is also if Mank had been co-written with Aaron Sorkin, you do kind of wonder whether, because Mank is Fincher.
Interesting thought.
Mank is Fincher trying to get into his more sentimental side. But, those are not muscles that he exercises that often. So what could they have done together?
They never did reunite.
Yeah.
And apparently a little bit of interesting creative tension between them in the making of this movie. The Killer, a movie I also love that was not going to be a contender.
This rules.
And then next year, The Adventures of Cliff Booth. I'm
open to it.
Well, I think we have to be for a variety of reasons. That would be a curious choice. Recommend it if you like.
Mm-hmm.
I think Citizen Kane, we can leave it at that.
Yeah.
Or
I wrote down the Big Picture podcast.
Yeah. If you like this pod, if you like the vile energy that we are giving each other every day, you'll probably, but in a rat-a-tat format.
Right.
We're talking fast.
Yeah.
We got a lot of ideas.
Everything's over, everything's done, and we're just talking through it.
We are talking through it.
Potentially Luca Guadagnino's Artificial next year about Sam Altman. Maybe. Who knows?
Oh, wow.
Well, I'd like to like it.
Wow. Is that actually happening, that movie?
I mean, I've seen a lot of set photos.
As far as I know.
Who's playing Sam Altman?
Andrew Garfield.
Oh,
yeah. Sheesh. That's the real sequel
to
The Social Network. Man, oh, man. Well, that's it for the countdown.
Yeah.
I wanted to say thank you to Sam Burtwhistle, who really helped us a lot in the construction of this list and in putting together a lot of research, especially over the summer. Thanks to our producer, Jack Sanders, for his work on this episode and the entire series, which has been quite an undertaking for this show. It may not seem that way, hopefully, because there's a lot of ease of use with these episodes, but tacking on a third episode virtually every week.
It was a choice that we made.
It was a choice that we made. As you mentioned, the selection special will be airing later this week. That is, is that conversation like 2 hours? How long was it?
Jack?
Yeah,
Roughly 2 hours.
I think it's a touch over, maybe over 2.
Yeah.
It's right around there.
Was there screen sharing? Is that part of the final edit?
There is no screen
There's no
sharing.
screen sharing. That was
long gone.
just,
Yep.
yeah. So we're just narrating the spreadsheet in real time.
It's probably not very visually interesting.
Yeah.
This is our last episode of 2025.
Yes.
How are you feeling about that?
I'm ready to not look at my face. And I would hope that other people also take a break from my face, and yours. But I'm grateful to everyone for listening, right?
Yes,
It's
and
been a good
watching
year.
and seeing your face.
I guess so.
This has been a very big and at times challenging but fun year for the show. We are very grateful for all the people who listen to the show, watch the show, go to the movies, engage with movie culture, think about what movies mean to them and why they matter so darn much to us. Buy plastic. I love the people who buy plastic and physical media. Do more of that in 2026.
I love the people who watch movies and then go outside.
Okay.
But it is true. We could not do this show. We wouldn't get to do this if it weren't people listening to it and caring about it and caring about movies. So thank you to all of you, truly.
Thank you. Happy New Year. We'll see you at the movies.